Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ether Bandit's Garage. We're back again today working on the 830. There's just a lot of backlog things I gotta do to this thing to get it running again, or to get it reliable. Like last video we replaced the power steering, and now I have, since before that honestly, I took the water pump off because it was leaking, because this tractor's been sitting probably 20 years honestly since I bought it. And so we're gonna get this. I rebuilt the water pump. I'll show you how I did that, show you what was wrong with it. All this stuff is parts you can get from the John Deere house themselves. It's very simple to do if you have a press. I mean, you can find these things new for $80 or rebuilt for $80 with the core charge. So I went to John Deere and I'm like, well, I got a press. I can fix that too. This is the bearing in this water pump, which I got it rebuilt already. You can see the new bearing shaft. All you have to do, it's very simple, is you have your impeller wheel, which you can see how corroded. I mean, this cooling system is disgusting. I'm going to show you how to flush the system in a little bit. So all you have to do is, there is a little clip. See that clip? Here. This right here, that sits right here on this bearing, and that holds it centered. So all you have to do is pull that out, and then take a press and a little punch, the diameter of that or smaller, and you just press it out. This pulley will come off, and it'll push the impeller out. The issue I ran into though was I couldn't get that little clip out. So I ended up taking a 3-jaw puller, pulling this pulley off, and then I ended up not taking the clip out, and I just pressed it and said, if I break the water pump, oh well, I have to buy a new one anyways. So I pressed it, it made a large pop, and then it came out and I got the little piece of metal out. Nothing was harmed. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but I'm just saying what worked for me. I pressed the impeller off, and then this is the seal, which it's pretty rough. It doesn't have any flex to it. The rubber's old. The seal surface, this actually seals on the back side of the impeller wheel. This seal surface is very rough, and then it's supposed to have a spring in it, and it don't got no more spring. And here is the bearing, which, to be fair, I knew this water pump was gonna leak because it was locked. It was seized up whenever I bought the tractor in January. And all you do is you press this in to there, and then you can run your shaft through the center of it with you can press either one on. It's very simple, but you want to be sure and press this in first, so that way you know that is seated properly. All the rest of this stuff goes together pretty easily. So then, once you have your water pump rebuilt like I do, this is just for your belt tension adjustment. The tighter you screw it, the tighter your belt is. I bought all these parts from Deere for 60 bucks. I mean, I figured it was worth a shot. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, oh well. I'm really not out a ton of money, and if it works, I will have saved probably 50 bucks. And so also with John Deere, I bought a new gasket, which on these old housings, I really don't have the best luck with sealing some days. The best RTV to use is Permatex, the Right Stuff Black. That stuff is so sticky, you really can't get it off of you, tractor, or whatever. And for gaskets, because we're using a gasket, because I have better luck with those, we're gonna put some Indian head shellac on there. I think this is lion head. I like the Permatex Indian head better. I think it's stickier. That is like the guaranteed thing to get your water pump, to get any gasket to seal, honestly, which everybody's going away from gaskets, but I don't know, some days I feel a little bit more old-fashioned than others. And the next step is going to be to clean this. which I already have done a little bit, but that was a while back. I've been caught up with school and trips and spring and going to Missouri over spring break. So a lot of keyboard commandos are gonna hate me for this one, but I use a wire wheel. Thing is, this tractor is an 830. It's from 1959. They didn't have any CNC machines for milling. This stuff was never perfectly smooth from the factory. And then after 60 years of heat cycles, of heating up and cooling down, none of these surfaces are true anymore. And so I clean that. You just don't sit there and hold it on one spot. It works just fine. The proper way would be to use like a plastic scraper in theory. However, I disagree with that because the stuff they used back in 59, it had all the good stuff in it, asbestos and no telling what else, stuff that actually worked. And so it laughs at a plastic scraper. I've tried plastic ones. I do use a little metal one, but for final cleaning, I always like to hit it with the wire wheel and then wipe it off with brake clean, so that way there's no contaminants on the surface. Gives it the best chance of sealing. Alrighty, well, we'll get back to y'all whenever I go to bolt the radiator on, or go to bolt the water pump on. Thank you. So I ended up getting the water pump on, and you can see I got the coolant lower rad hose on, which that was, I can't seem to find the one that it had. And so I used that one, and that was just a hose I had. And it's just a little bit too small. So the next step, and I want to go ahead and apologize for the wind noise. It's just such a beautiful day today. I'm trying to be outside, out in the shop. So once you get once you get everything put together, the next step is putting the belt on, which I'm just tensioning the belt right now. You can tell it's starting to get tight. And then what you do is you get you a screwdriver, you pry against the housing onto this cog, and you turn it. You turn the other one like that, and it sucks that thing out. There, it tightens those two pulleys. And as it happens, it gets the belt tight. So I'm gonna do that. We're gonna start filling up with water. And I have some Coolant Flush that I bought from the John Deere house. I bought some different Freestone stuff, but I was there buying parts and I saw this, and I think this tractor needs everything it can. So we're gonna run this, and I might, for instance, once I finish with this, I might dump it out and put me like some more water in it and some Cascade dishwashing detergent. Okay, so I have got the water pump on, I got the hose on. I put that Coolant Flush in it, filled it up with water. Yes, I know it's just tap water, but I really don't have any distilled water right now, and I'm not gonna have this thing in here long enough where I'm really gonna need to worry about that. I'm just kind of letting those bubbles seep out. That Coolant Flush was kind of like a syrup, more like, which I just, bottle's right here, throw that away here in a second. But if you read the directions, I mean, it wants you to add 1 gallon of this for 10 gallons. Tractor holds like 7 gallons. So I round up, figure it won't hurt nothing. And it wants you to run it at operating temperature for an hour or so. It doesn't have any thermostats in it. And this is a big old diesel. And so it is very hard to get warm. But I made some measures to try to get it to warm up. This generator is a 6-volt generator, and it's going out. This bearing makes a lot of racket sometimes whenever it's running, and you don't have to have it to run the water pump. So I just unhooked it. I figure I have a brand new temperature gauge in this tractor, and then I have a temperature gun too, which I will be using. Which, I mean, they're brand new gauges. That's what I've never got it to budge the temperature gauge. And that's what I figure. If it gets to 130, I might come put the fan belt back on. It's not hard. And it just, I don't know. I'm really tired of listening to that generator whine at me. We don't have any leaks. Should be good to go here. So I'm gonna crank it up here in a little bit. Probably go drive it around some. I have a place I want to go plow some because I have a 9-shank chisel plow, which I think it'll be about all this tractor wants to handle. But I really want to see that if it'll pull it or not. And I just want to know how wet that ground is because it did rain earlier in the week. Thing is, the ground was already so dry. I'm really not that worried about it being too too wet, but it is kind of a low spot. We're almost full there. So alrighty, we'll get this back on and I'll crank tractor up and we'll get back to you then. So to start this tractor, because I got the radiator full, I really don't have any wiring yet. That's what I bought it and it was very taken apart. And I've been slowly putting it back together. And I just haven't got a switch or a wiring harness yet. I'll probably make my own wiring harness, but the big hang up is whenever I got it, I was given the 24-volt generator. And it is put in a very safe place right now that I really can't find. So once I find that, then we're gonna probably go ahead with trying to worry about wiring it. The thing is though, this tractor doesn't need any electricity to run, it just needs to crank. And it's 24 volts, I have 2 big batteries. It's very simple to start this tractor. You have your throttle. This is your decompression lever. These old diesels Deere made, they don't need the compression on them is so instant that you need to let that starter turn up. You build your oil pressure and then you let go of decompression and give it a little bit of fuel and it fires off. And it's better for the motor to do it that way. They had this on here, I think mainly for the pony starts, but it's good for these. It's good for electric start anyways. So we're gonna see if we can't get it to crank. I just have a wire running to the solenoid. Yeah, so you just jump the wire right here. I'm gonna let it turn over on decompression. We're gonna build some oil pressure. And then I'm gonna bump the throttle to out of no fuel. Give it a little bit of fuel and it ought to pop off. So y'all ready? Kind of helps if I would take it out of here too. That's another big requirement. Here we go. Let's try this again. Alrighty. Well, I ran the tractor for a while. Didn't really get a chance to run as long as I wanted to. But I drained the coolant, or I drained out this cleaner. And I just want to say this was clear whenever we put it in there. And there was just a rust-colored tinge to it all. So I think it did this whole cooling system a lot of good. I still need to fill it back up, put a little bit of water in it. Run it for about 5 minutes and drain it again to get the rest of this stuff out. And it'll be good to go with antifreeze. So I think this is where I'm going to close the video. It's that's how you do a water pump on a John Deere 830 and flush the cooling system on pretty much anything. So, well, y'all don't have too much fun.